not more than 20 acres, and from this height the sea looked larger and more desolate than it did from the deck, or even the fighting top of the Dawn Treader. Crazy, you know, said Eustace to Lucy in a low voice, looking at the eastern horizon. Sailing on and on into that, with no idea of what we may get to. But he only said it out of habit, not really nastily as he would have done at one time. It was too cold to stay long on the ridge, for the wind still blew freshly from the north. Let's go back the same way, said Lucy as they turned. Let's go along a bit and come down by the other stream, the one Drinian wanted to go to. Everyone agreed to this, and after about 15 minutes they were at the source of the second river. It was a more interesting place than they had expected. A deep little mountain lake, surrounded by cliffs except for narrow channels on the seaward side, out of which the water flowed. Here at last they were out of the wind, and all sat down in the heather above the cliff for a rest. All sat down, but one, it was Edmund, jumped up again very quickly. They go in for sharp stones on this island, he said, groping around in the heather. Where is that wretched thing? Now I've got it. Hello? It wasn't a stone at all. It's a sword hilt. No, by Jove, it's a whole sword. What the rust is left of it? It must have been laying here for ages. Narnian, too, by the looks of it, said Caspian, as they all crowded around. I'm sitting on something, too, said Lucy, something hard. It turned out to be the remains of a mail shirt. But this time everyone was on hands and knees, feeling in the thick heather in every direction. Their search revealed, one by one, a helmet, a dagger, and a few coins. Not Clorman crescents, but genuine Narnian lions and trees, such as you might see any day in the marketplace of Beaver's Dam or Baruna. Looks as if this might be all that's left of one of our 7 lords, said Edmund. Just what I was thinking, said Caspian. I wonder which it was. There's nothing on the dagger to show, and I wonder how he died, and how we are to avenge him, added Reepicheep. Edmund, the only one of the party who had read several detective stories, had meanwhile been thinking. Look here, he said. There's something very fishy about this. He can't have been killed in a fight. Why not, said Caspian. No bones, said Edmund. An enemy might have taken armor to leave the body, but who has ever heard of a chap who won a fight carrying away a body and leaving the armor? Perhaps he was killed by a wild animal, Lucy suggested. It'd be a clever animal, said Edmund. That would take a man's mail shirt off. Perhaps a dragon, said Caspian. Nothing's doing, said Eustace. A dragon couldn't do it. I ought to know. Well, let's get away from the place anyway, said Lucy. She had not felt like sitting down again since Emily raised the question of bones. If you like, said Caspian, getting up. I don't think any of this stuff is worth taking away. They came down and round to the little opening where the stream came to the lake, and stood looking at the deep water within the circle of cliffs. If it had been a hot day, no doubt, some of them would have been tempted to bathe, and everyone would have had a drink. Instead, even as it was, Eustace was at the very point of the stooping down and scooping up some water in his hand when Reepicheep and Lucy both at the same moment cried, Look! So he forgot about his drink and looked into the water. The bottom of the pool was made of large grayish-blue stones, and the water was perfectly clear, and on the bottom lay a life-size figure of a man, made apparently of gold. It lay face downward, with its arms stretched out above its head, and it so happened that as they looked at it, the clouds parted and the sun shone out. The golden shape was lit up from end to end. Lucy thought it was the most beautiful statue she had ever seen. Well, whistled Caspian, that was worth coming to see, I wonder. Can we get it out? We can dive for it, sire, said Reepicheep. No good at all, said Edmund. At least, if it's really gold, solid gold, it'd be far too heavy to bring up, and that pool's 12 or 15 feet deep if it's an inch. Half a moment, though. It's a good thing I've brought some hunting spears with me. Let's see what the depth is like. Hold on to my hand, Caspian, while I lean out over the water a bit. Caspian took his hand, and Edmund, leaning forward, began to lower his spear into the water. Before it was halfway in, Lucy said, I don't believe the statue is gold at all. It's only the light. Your spear looks just the same color. "What's wrong?" asked several voices at once, for Edmund had suddenly let go of the spear. "I couldn't hold it," gasped Edmund. "It seemed so heavy." "And there it is in the bottom now," said Caspian, "and Lucy is right, it looks just the same color as the statue." But Edmund, who appeared to be having trouble with his boots, at least he was bending down and looking at them, straightened himself all at once and shouted out in the sharp voice which people hardly ever disobey, "Get back from the water, all of you at once." They all did and stared at him. "Look," said Edmund, "look at the toes of my boots." "They look a bit yellow," began Eustace. "They're gold, solid gold," interrupted Edmund. "Look at them, feel them. The leather's pulled away from it already, and they're as heavy as lead." "By Aslan," said Caspian, "you don't mean to say—" "Yes, I do," said Edmund. "That water turns things into gold. It turned the spear into gold. That's why it got so heavy, and it was just lapping against my feet. It's a good thing I wasn't barefoot, and it turned my toe caps into gold. And that poor fellow at the bottom, well, you see—" "So it isn't a statue at all," said Lucy in a low voice. "No, the whole thing is plain now. He was here on a hot day. He undressed on top of the cliff where we were sitting. The clothes had been rotted away or were taken by birds to line nests with. The armor's still there. Then he dived in—" "Don't," said Lucy. "What a horrible thing." "And what a narrow shave we've had," said Edmund. "Narrow indeed," said Reepicheep. "Anyone's finger, anyone's foot, anyone's whisker, or anyone's tail might have slipped into the water at any moment." "All the same," said Caspian, "we may as well test it." He stooped down and wrenched up a spray of heather. Then, very cautiously, he knelt beside the pool and dipped it in. It was heather that he dipped. When he drew it out, it was a perfect model of heather made of the purest gold, heavy and soft as lead. "The king who owned this island," said Caspian slowly, as his face flushed as he spoke, "would soon be the richest of all kings of the world. I claim this land forever as a Narnian possession. It shall be called Goldwater Island, and I bind all of you to secrecy. No one must know of this, not even Drinian, on pain of death. Do you hear?" "Who are you talking to?" said Edmund. "I'm no subject of yours. If anything, it's the other way around. I'm one of the 4 ancient sovereigns of Narnia, and you are under allegiance to the High King, my brother." "So it has come to that, King Edmund, has it?" said Caspian, laying his hand on his sword hilt. "Oh, stop it, both of you," said Lucy. "That's the worst of doing anything with boys. You're all such swaggering, bullying idiots. Oh!" Her voice died away into a gasp, and everyone else saw what she had seen. Across the gray hillside above them, gray for the heather was not yet in bloom, without noise, and without looking at them, and shining as if he were in bright sunlight through the sun, had in fact gone in, passed with slow pace the hugest lion that human eyes had ever seen. In describing the scene, Lucy said afterward, he was the size of an elephant, though at another time she only said the size of a cart horse. But it was not the size that mattered. Nobody dared to ask what it was. They knew it was Aslan, and nobody ever saw how or where he went. They looked on at one another like people waking from sleep. "What have we been talking about?" said Caspian. "Have I been making rather an ass of myself?" "Sire," said Reepicheep, "this is a place with a curse on it. Let us get back on board at once, and if I might have the honor of naming this a land, I shall call it Deathwater." "That strikes me a very good name, Reep," said Caspian. "Though now that I come to think of it, I don't know why, but the weather seems to be settling, and I dare say Drinian would like to be off. What a lot we shall have to tell him." But in fact they had not much to tell, for the memory of the last hour had become confused. "Their Majesties all seemed a bit bewitched when they came aboard," said Drinian to Rince some hours later at the Dawn Treader. Was more under sail, and Deathwater Island already below the horizon. "Something happened to them in that place. The only thing I could get clear was that they think they've found the body of one of those lords that we were looking for." "You don't say so, Captain," answered Rince. "Well, that's 3, only 4 more. At this rate, we might be home soon after the New Year. And a good thing, too. My basie's running a bit low. Good night, sir." And that's the end of that chapter. So let me end that video.